Yeah, there's a big difference between, designing a language because you feel like designing a language, you want to just see how language design works, and then actually
Yep.
trying to make a tool that other people want to use.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not even just that. It's like, I want to make a proper language for me that I'm going to make my own software. It's like, great. That's a very different tool, making the language for you as well as making it for others. Because there are, again, as I've said on Twitter before and other places, there are decisions in Odin which I don't even like. And it's because I've taken certain compromises or trade-offs because I'm trying to make sure it works with other ways of programming to aim for that. And sometimes people don't understand it, or like on things, but if you explain the logic to them, they'll go, oh, actually that makes perfect sense, but I never thought of it that way, kind of thing. And it's like, yeah, it's just these little things where you don't realize until you interact with other people what these problems are about. And a lot of these things you can't even come from first principles. You actually just have to see how people program, and you go, good God, I don't want to allow for that. Let's not do that, shall we? Because a lot of it's empirical. There's a lot of things I made in Odin when I first added stuff. I went, I didn't think they were going to do it that way. What? And again, that's another kind of design philosophy there. It's very much this, I'm not trying to prevent people from doing things. You can shoot yourself in the foot in Odin quite easily if you want. But it's more of this, I don't want you to shoot other people in the foot, if that makes any sense. Which is harder to explain. It's very hard to explain how this mad mind of mine works to people in my design approach, because it's not really trivial in that regard.
You did hit on a really interesting point. I don't think you kind of just jumped right past it there.
Yeah.
Making a design choice that you don't necessarily agree with, coming from the Linux part of the open source world, that is something that is insane to hear, because you'll often hear, especially from some of the more narcissistic projects, we'll say, they don't need to be named. They know who they are. This project is being designed by the developers for the developers, and if you want to make a change, if you want something to change, then you should go and submit the code to change it. Like, this is a very common mentality that exists in the Linux world.
Yeah. It's also why the biggest reason I don't like a lot of open source software in general, because of that mentality. It's very much like, we don't like it, we have the sources available, can just modify it now. And like, no, just no thank you. But this is also the problem with open source, there's very little incentive for the developers actually to make it decent. So this is again, this is a real big problem with open source software, is that lack of incentive structure that's there. Because it's, again, open source software and free open source software in general tend to make and produce free as in beer software. It isn't, how do I phrase this? It's going to be free in practice. It's very rarely ever going to make open source that becomes paid. So what's the incentive to the person to keep making something better? What's the incentive structure there? I'm not saying there isn't one. It's just it now becomes a different kind.
Yeah.
So you do get this narcissism where people say, well, I'm making it for free. I'm giving it out for free, where you could just be happy that it's for free. And honestly, that just produces awful software. And for me, with Odin, I know it's open source, but again, I'm not the biggest proponent of open source software at all. Odin is open source, but the way I approach it is more, here's the source. You can see me develop on it, but I'm trying to make the best product that I possibly can. Like, I'm trying to be for other people, not just me.
When it comes to... go on.
You go ahead. Sorry.
So I was just going to say, like, when it comes specifically to languages, it's really hard to sell someone on a language that isn't both free and open source. Not free and open source, but free, what I'm saying. Free as in you don't pay for. Like, people outside of very specific cases are not buying, not buying compilers, not buying languages. It just does not happen at this point.
No,
even in the corporate space, very rare.
The expected price of a compiler nowadays for a new language is 0. Back in the past, people would have been able to sell compilers, and in fact, there are still languages today which you can buy their compilers. A great example would be MATLAB or Mathematica. But MATLAB's been around since the 80s.
Right, it's like they've been grandfathered in.
Correct. So, but this is the problem when the economics of programming languages is bad. And most languages that come out today are usually created by giant corporations where the language is just subsidized by that corporation. And then but then the way they do it is they push it on to different projects and they do that sort of marketing. But if someone like me, I'm like, I'm not funded by a giant corporation. I have a job that I work at giant corporations. Yes, we use Odin and I do get paid to develop Odin, but I also get paid to develop things in Odin with using as the language. So the incentives are just completely different. Many other languages have this issue. It's not just Odin's problem in that regard. There's a lot of... There was I remember seeing a talk on the economics of programming languages a few years ago. I didn't really agree with it because I think a lot of it is also... A lot of it you're just relying on charity. That's pretty much what you're going to be doing. There is no way of getting the money to provide, to support, to do it. Unlike some of the projects which are easy to sell, like a game is a very example of this. You make a game, you can sell it, make money from it, make more games, whatever. But a program language, everybody expects it to be free now. That's the market price. Because why would I pay for something when I can use this other thing for free? And it's because those big giant corporations subsidize the other ones to be free, pretty much. So why wouldn't you? It's this, and it's like, I don't blame people. It's just how markets work at the end of the day. And it does this kind of weird... There's also this second thing. It's a general thing with open source, and I'm sorry for people... I'm criticizing open source a bit here, but this is the general model of open source in general.
I'm happy to see some different opinions here.
Yeah, like there's this problem, like common feeling of like guilt many programmers have that they should give their knowledge out for free as well to the world. But I also think, why should you feel guilty? Like, why is that the right emotion that you've placed? Like, why is that even valid? It's like, because the problem is when you have all these open source stuff, it kind of makes you it kind of forces you into a sort of charity to give away everything for free. You wouldn't do this in any other area, other than programming. So why are we having to be free?
I'll slightly push back on that.
Yeah.
With the growth of YouTube, I think there has been this sort of also pushback against selling general knowledge. A lot of people feel weird about producing a course, even if the content they're making is incredibly good and people would pay for it. A lot of people feel like I should just release that out there on YouTube for free. It's ad supported and people just watch it.
Yeah, but at least, again, one benefit about YouTube is at least it is ad supported. You've got ads. That's one minor thing. That's the monetization model there. But the other problem is that people feel this guilt that, no, I need to give it out for free because everyone else is doing it. And again, that's what happens with everything gets cheaper and cheaper. But the thing is, a lot of those paid courses that you'll see, they're usually a hell of a lot better than you'll ever see for free on YouTube, usually on average, not always. But again, it's this, I'm not saying, it's hard to explain this nuance to people because I know it's nuanced because the point is I'm trying to say here is there's a tendency not for definite here. And I think a lot of people are nice giving out things for free, but it's like, again, how do you make a living? We live in a society where we need money. And at least with YouTube, there are adverts. And then other people rely on sponsorships of things. Obviously, most YouTubers will have a sponsorship for something, which usually pays for the video, not the adverts that come from YouTube. And again, absolutely fine. But then you come to software. Well, what's the monetization model there? What is it? I'm not saying there should be adverts in your software. I'm not saying that. But I think a lot of people should actually sell their software, which is, again, sorry for guys, I know it's being controversial here, but I kind of want people to make money and keep making good software. And a lot of the stuff that comes out for free, people use that because then it's free, but it may not actually be good software. It's free. Even if the thing that costs money that's only like $1, well, I'm going to use the free thing because it's free. And as a consequence of this, a lot of people, and especially programmers, don't value their time. They literally value their time at zero. So you may take this thing costs you free, but it's spending hours on hours when you could have bought something, hypothetically bought something, which would have taken seconds. And you wouldn't have had to do all that insanity because you don't value your time correctly.
I've talked.
Sorry, it's just a bit of a
No,
defensive
no.
thing, but yeah.
I've talked to quite a few people in the open source space about software funding, and
Yeah.
it's a really tough equation, right? Because it also matters like where in the software stack you are. So
Yes.
I've had KDE developers on before, and they're in a position where they can put a donation prompt in front of people. Every year they put it for past 2 years. They put a donation prompt in front of people around December. They bring in like $200,000 just in like that little bit at the end of the year.
I'm well on to them.
They're doing incredibly well. GNOME does a similar thing. They're doing less well, but that's GNOME. But if you're something like
yes, that's true.
If you're a lower level library, I've spoken to Till Kempeter, who is the developer of Open Printing, who does like the printing stack for Linux. If you're a printer driver, like he used to work at Canonical, and that was all being funded. Now he's trying to set up a like separate foundation under the Linux Foundation, but like you can't charge for printing drivers at this. Like, where's the
where
funding?
you get different. That's the thing, is a lot of things with drivers, historically it would have been the printer manufacturer themselves made the drivers, because you buy the printer and you give out this thing for software for free. But now you get into a situation where even the manufacturer drivers don't work, because everybody hates printers. They always fail, and there's always problems with them, and it's always the driver usually. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's literally just the operating system. Like Windows, I've sometimes had to reinstall the driver just to make it work because Windows does something I still don't know to this day. But reinstalling the driver makes it work again. This happens like every 9 months. But again, this is just these different models, and I think there's also this is the problem when you have. There's this issue with like the open source model a lot of people have, is that they think of the ideals of open source and think that that's reality as well. Like these ideals should become reality. I'm like, but that's not how reality works. So you have this. There's a lot of things where there's a lot of negative costs that people aren't seeing because there is no price mechanism to see where to do. But it's just hard. It's a hard problem to solve, and I'm not saying there's any. I can give any solutions to this problem, but I am kind of. It's annoying nowadays that a lot of software has become free, and a lot of the commercial software has become free, but either has ads in it or you have to have a subscription to it. And again, nothing necessarily wrong with subscriptions. I'm not criticizing that as a model, but then it's this it's free to entry, and then it's to pay for it rather than just, can I just buy it outright, please? I'd love that in a lot of software. Can I just buy it, please?